Hello, welcome to the HolmFront, where we try to keep everything objectively subjective. I'm Tyler, your host, and to my right, as always, is Mitch, my overly artistic friend. Mitch,
Hi.
thank you for joining me.
Happy to be here. What do we watch?
We watched. I'd like to point out that it was fun watching The Rock roll into his first dramatic role.
Yeah, he really crushed it.
He did. He became a boulder for this movie.
Yeah, his acting was solid, I would say. You know?
I can't.
I mean,
So stupid.
getting into this performance must have taken some real stones. You know? He's going to bulldoze the Oscar race, I'll tell you right now.
He might. This one. So we watched Smashing Machine, in which
Starring The Rock
if you hadn't
in his
figured that out,
stone cold performance. It was great.
just reading all my jokes. Okay, yeah, I mean, I'll just jump right off the bat for
Okay.
whatever else you have to say about this movie. The Rock did a phenomenal job, and he
He
looks insane.
I fully expect him to be nominated for Best Actor. I think it'll happen, which is kind of crazy because this is like we looked at the list of his films before we even started.
Yeah.
None of them are dramatic performances. Not one. They're all just like action
They're all
schlock.
very comedic or very action oriented.
Yeah.
The Central Intelligence Agency and Red One and
Jumanji.
yeah,
all this other junk.
Which,
And
I mean, he's-
Fast and Furious stuff.
yeah, Black Adam, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's got
Classic cinema right there.
Everybody loved that movie from the DCEU for sure. It's a different role to have seen him in, but I gotta say, like, it was hard to recognize him at certain points because he looks.
I didn't at all. Yeah.
His body composition is so different, and like even now, I've seen a couple of his interviews and like just kind of people catching him. He looks back to his normal. His normal is insane as well, but it doesn't look the way that he looks in the movie. Because in the movie, he's got so much more mass and like ridiculous deltoids. Like he's just huge, and he looks like a monster. He's so big. There's a couple of scenes where he picks up Emily Blunt, and I'm like, the size difference here is unbelievable.
Yeah.
He makes her look like a child.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're holding hands at one point, and I was like, his forearm is the size of this girl's leg. Like it's just, it's so big. It's like when what's his name, Jason Momoa picks up Emilia Clarke in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
She looks like a child. She's like 5'1", and he's like 6'6" or whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
massive. Anyway, he looks incredible. So whatever he did to get in the in that shape for this movie, he looks just like the guy he's portraying, which is Mark
Probably
Kerr.
skipping rocks.
All right. It's going to get old real fast.
All right, give me a synopsis. Let's get into this.
Okay. So this is basically a biopic, or as you termed it, what is it, intimate portrayal?
An intimate portrait, I would call it. Yeah.
About Mark Kerr, the UFC fighter, and is between 1997 and 2003, I believe, was the last year.
No, I think just early 2000.
Was it?
I think it was just 97 through 2000. That's what the film covers.
Okay.
Obviously, his career was longer than that, but
Right. I think he quit in 2009 is what the film said at the end.
Yeah.
So it's about him, and it's just like it's hard to describe.
As one of the early UFC
fighters.
players. Yeah.
And he's got a wrestling background, so they show a little bit of that. They show his relationship, but it's not quite a biopic in like the standard sense. It's more just kind of a day in the life. So I kind of equated it to like a documentary because it just shows multiple days, and it's almost like they set up a camera and they're like, all right, well, this happened this day, so just do it and we'll capture it, and that's it. They're not trying to doctor it up or anything, which felt very A24, which is the studio that released this film.
Yeah, that's why I called it an intimate portrait, or like it almost reminded me slightly of what is that? The real fake. He doesn't remember.
The real fake.
Okay. Brain fart. Intimate portrait. I said that because I was like, we're just following his personal life so much. So
You're talking about the wrestler? Or are you talking about something else?
no, I was talking about the term. What's that? Reality TV. That's what it is.
Oh, yes. Ugh,
Yeah, it's almost kind of has a slight reality TV vibe.
Yes.
Not in the sense that it's comical or over dramatic, but like in the kind of we just put a camera in somebody's house. Here's them going through their daily routine, and you get to see all of
You just
that.
get to experience it with them. Yeah.
And again, intimate portrait, I would say, just to describe it, because it feels like we get so much of his personal life, and even when we're getting like the fights, it's really about how he responds to what's happening in the fight way more so than like the cinematography of the fight or the subject of UFC fighting or like some comment on like humanity doing these fights or whatever.
Yeah.
None of that is really comes to play. It's really just him. And
it doesn't seem like they're trying to dramatize his life either. It seems like they
yeah.
just kind of took a series of data points and they're like, well, this seems like the series of events, so we'll just play them out as we know them or maybe as he was describing them or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just, yeah. So what we got was, it almost feels discombobulated because if you look, at most biopics, they have some kind of arc or some kind of dramatization or
And
whatever.
then something to say that's usually
Right.
in line with the artist or whoever it is themselves.
This one didn't seem to have too much of a message. It was just interested in introducing you to Mark Kerr and what he went through early in the UFC championship days. So
Yeah.
So,
So given that, how would you rate this one?
I'd probably give this a solid 3 or 4 stars.
And that's out of 5.
Yeah, out of 5.
Yeah.
Probably leaning more towards 3 because it doesn't have a whole lot of substance. We'll get into it, but I could be convinced to a 4, I suppose, just for the performances. Because if nothing else, The Rock and Emily Blunt really delivered in this movie.
Yeah, incredibly so. I was actually really impressed with Emily Blunt's performance, because the character she plays is just this like super,
it's like trophy wife status.
Yeah, this stereotypical like, okay, sweetie, like, what do you need?
Whatever
like,
you
okay,
want.
baby.
Yeah, I'll just make sure I'm done up and I look nice next to you, kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. So she does that throughout the whole movie, but what's really interesting about her performance is she's actually like planting these seeds in every scene, and that they crescendo in this like end scene that was pretty shocking, honestly, with like because we were both like, whoa, okay, I did not realize that this, like, we saw it happening, but we didn't realize like how much it had cemented,
Right.
I
feel like we should have some kind of spoiler section in this, so we can actually get into that
so let's
scene.
not get into that.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think a 3 out of 5 is where I would rate it.
Okay.
Not the like I mean, I just have a few qualms, but I don't think it's hard to rate, honestly, because it feels like it's very sincere in what it wants to be.
Yes.
So I don't want to like be too hard on it.
For what they were trying to do, I think they did it.
Yeah, if whoever it was like, this is what the project should be, and they described it, that's what they got out of it for sure.
And I'll say it met expectations. So whatever you were expecting from the trailer, it's probably going to meet that precisely. So
yeah,
let's do like 1 or 2 likes and dislikes, and then we'll jump into the spoilers if we want to continue to expound into things. Unless you think you have to expound on those when you're.
No, I could do a few more things. I will say I liked the style of the film.
Yeah. Same.
For one, the cinematography very much was that like, I mean, again, that
reality TV
or documentary style where it kind of puts you as one of the people there. So like anytime a fight's going on, it was like you were an audience member watching the fight carrying out and like trying to see over people's heads and stuff like that. So
kind of felt like it too whenever they'd follow, like if they followed him off the stage or if he's walking somewhere, they would kind of have the camera like right up behind him. Almost like they were trying to follow him and they didn't know where he was going. Like it wasn't staged, it wasn't directed. It was like someone just told him to grab a camera and follow The Rock wherever he was going.
Yes, yeah, it has that feel. Yeah, one of the earlier sequences is like after a fight, he's like walking back to like the rest stop or whatever, or whatever the room is to like recover and warm up.
Yeah.
So as he's going there, he's like bumping into a few people here and there. And it's pretty much all in one take, I think. And there was, he stops and talks to some people, and the film does not insert itself to make any kind of commentary. It just is like, okay, well, I'll back up a little bit so that you can see both characters talking, and then it does like a couple cuts to a little bit closer, so you see the reactions a little more, and then back to where we were and following him back to his room. So it's a very like, unobtrusive, objective perspective on things. Like if you were just following the fights, but you would have also seen, the personal elements, which obviously nobody was seeing at the time. But that in combination with like, it had like a real strong film grain. So it felt like something from the 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah.
And even the like fight commentators, like the way that they captured the sound for them, I was like, man, this is just blast from the past. Very nostalgic, even though I've never watched fighting really.
Sure.
but it
But
still
that
had that.
style, yeah, as if you're
Yeah.
watching it on one of those big old heavy TVs, the, like
Hmm.
big squares.
And even the way they talked about it too, like it was like they just had so much more, like, I guess, restraint than
Mm.
they were not like, oh my gosh, he hit him again and he's down for the count.
Oh
It wasn't
yes,
like
yeah,
overdone. It was just like, well, we're really interested to see what happens, and
yeah,
for those who don't know at home, and it was very like,
even keel, kind of, yeah.
yeah, even kill. It was kind of surprisingly so. Makes me kind of wonder. It's like I want to go back and watch '90s like fight or just commentations on
Watch
sports and
early
stuff.
UFC.
Yeah, well,
Mm.
not necessarily even UFC, but just like maybe football or whatever. Like, what
Oh, I
was the
see.
reporting like at that time? Because whatever it was, it seems like they were paying attention to that because of
Mm.
the way that everything is put together on film.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, the aesthetic style was interesting. It was very going back to your previous point. I loved the graininess of it because it did feel like because they even had a couple moments where it seemed a lot more grainy, like it was filmed on a home camera or something,
Mm-hmm.
almost like they were trying to call back a little bit further. But
Yeah,
it was an interesting style for the movie because it
yeah.
was trying to place you in that time period, and they did it aesthetically as well as
Mm-hmm.
with just the subject matter.
I also think film grain is beautiful. I'm one of those people that any movie with film grain, I'm like, I'm into it. Looks so nice because it
It
just kind of
does.
has this.
It's nostalgic.
Yeah, well,
That's
it
what it
has
is.
like a real authenticity to it too because it's not like it makes you aware that it's a film, that it's like not real, but in a way that's just super subtle, so it's not distracting.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would say works for it?
Um. Well, I would say the music, but it's kind of a mixed bag. I think the music,
It's a little noisy sometimes.
yeah, like the style was good, but it did change constantly. And so I had a hard time keeping up. There would be points like it's kind of jazzy at first. And then after a while, it like forgot about that and tried to be something else. And then it brings back the jazz. And I was like, well, make up your mind. Like, what do you want? And then there's like one scene near the end where it's super dramatic and the music was just blaring. And I was like, we really don't need this because the performances are so strong and like what was happening on screen was so intense. So I didn't get that. I just felt like they let the composer have too much creative
Oh,
freedom.
gotcha.
He
Okay.
was a great choice and he did a phenomenal job, but they needed to put him
Rein
on a
him in.
leash and,
No, just right here. None of this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
have him eat rocks or something.
sheesh. Which is what Dwayne Johnson must have done to get the build he did.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so points against it. I'll go to the first one. Well, we already kind of went over the music, which, like you said, was a mixed bag. So,
What do you agree with everything I said on the music? Are you with me?
oh yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah. It was probably a little too jazzy for me. I'm not a big jazz fan in general, but
Mhm.
it
It
was
was very saxophony. So if you don't like the saxophone,
And
you're
there was a
probably
lot
not
of
gonna like this movie.
a lot of percussion just kind of going. I was like, okay, I understand why they did it because his life's a bit chaotic, and he's trying to stay calm in the midst of the chaos. And so
Hmm.
I feel like that was representing that pretty well.
Hmm.
Because jazz, so the uninitiated, which I am one, it sounds very noisy. Like it's very chaotic.
Jazz music.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a
Oh.
lot coming at you, and so it's hard to distinguish what to appreciate,
Oh, interesting.
in my
Huh.
opinion. Which is why I'm not a big fan of it. But I was talking
Hmm.
to a guy who appreciates that stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, for someone who grew up around music and plays a lot of instruments, he's like, I can see what they're doing and the art of it, and there's a lot more appreciation for someone like that."
Hmm.
But I think what they were trying to do was to put in a lot of that chaos because that's what he's dealing with. He's trying to juggle with too many things and then put on this facade of calm as the character, and I think that's what they were trying to portray.
Gotcha.
So without getting into too many spoilers with that in a minute, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think what you were saying, it was effective, but it did get a little too much at some points because they would really crank up the volume in certain points, and I was like, oh my gosh, calm it down. It's like I got what you're
Yeah.
doing. I don't need this much noise.
Yeah, it's like they were insecure. The composer was, and he felt
Maybe.
like he had to do more. And I was like, I honestly think I would have enjoyed this movie probably about the same if there was zero music throughout, which isn't a knock
Well, the
against the
style
music.
of it would have actually made that work.
Yeah,
The way the film's made, I think it would have worked for that music too.
yeah, I think it would have been an interesting watch. The only qualm that could maybe unravel that is it's quite long. It's an hour, and it's 2 hours, and it feels like three. It actually,
Does feel long.
the pacing was a little rough because it's just covering points in his life, without like a larger narrative that it's building. Like we reviewed A Complete Unknown last year, and that film has like each scene is kind of adding to the larger narrative of what's happening. So when you get to the end, characters are like, okay, well, here's my perspective on things, and you've gone on a journey with all of them to understand why there's now a separation between them or a divergence in the path. Whereas this didn't have any of that. It was just like, oh, by the way, this is something that happened in his life when he went to the grocery store and did this or that. So here's that scene. And it is interesting and it contributes to the larger character study.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really contribute to his story in any way. So to be 2 hours with very little story, I think was kind of, it was a little rough. It was a little tumultuous.
Yeah, it wasn't a consistent build, which made it tough to follow sometimes.
And I think that's why some people are saying it's a little bit boring or like it doesn't break the mold enough from a biopic. But I kind of feel like it broke the mold fine. It was just the fact that what it broke into was
not as stimulating.
Not as stimulating. Yeah, exactly.
Which, would be the second point, is the pacing in general. But I think it worked itself into a corner in order for that to be the case, like you were saying. It was like trying to break the mold, but not in the right direction, and therefore now you just have like I was saying, it kind of felt like that documentary style. So it was almost like they're like, well, he went to the grocery store on Sunday, so Rock, you go into the grocery store,
Yeah.
grab the camera and just follow him in, and that was it. Like there wasn't like a plan of having something happen there.
Yeah.
Because at the end they do the exact same thing with the actual guy with the real Mark Kerr. He's actually shopping. I don't know if this was like planned, or it probably was because the way it was set up. I was like, well, he's mic'd up, so it was authentic. But he's like, oh, I see the cameras. Are you guys serious? I'm like, yeah, they've been following you around for like the last 15 minutes, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Are you serious? But that was exactly the way the movie did it in the first place. Is just they just followed him around the grocery store.
Yeah.
I think how he just kind of has this random normal interaction with the cashier, picks up his stuff, throws it in the truck, and drives away. I was like, okay. Is this just your nod to the rest of the film or something? This is interesting. It was just trying to pay homage to him, because one of the things that is at the end is that he was one of the founders, or one of the first fighters in the UFC. And back then, since it wasn't as well known, you don't know the names as well as you might for fighters today. And so they were just trying to give him some recognition. And so it was just like, well, here he is now.
Yeah.
And what he looks like. So for that, I appreciate what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look anything the same as he did back then. He was a monster back then. He looks relatively normal now.
Yeah, normal is a good word for it. Yeah. Not like
Go ahead.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
I just like to keep you on your toes.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Because then he goes, oh no, I'm going to get a bad pun, but then it doesn't happen.
You know, the worst thing is that I roast most of these puns. I don't like that I can, because I hate puns. They're the worst. The worst things, they're horrible. They're bad humor. Dislike. Okay, so let's just jump into the spoiler section here. So
do
we
it.
can
Take
be a
it
little
away.
more free reign.
Hit the thing. You got to put actual music. So
I
you can
want
stop doing that.
I like
You're
doing...
critiquing.
I like.
Well, they're your puns. Actually, they're not even my.
They
puns.
are my puns.
Mostly.
I'm ashamed to say. Okay. So let's since you already alluded to it, why don't we just jump into that scene? And since it's going to deal with their dynamic anyway, let's jump into the Emily Blunt character.
Yeah,
because I think she was the amount of substance that she brought to that character, and as unsubstantial as the character seems to be, Emily's like, you know what, I can shine with this. Why don't I try?
Yeah,
Since she did, phenomenal job with portraying the character, but also portraying the contrast of her to Mark Kerr, or The Rock's character in the movie.
Well, before we get into that scene, I think we should walk them through the storyline of it.
Let's jump back.
So okay, I'll let you continue then.
Well, I was just gonna say, so they have an established relationship at the beginning, and there's a bit of a tense relationship, which is explained later. But the tension that they bring to screen, while still maintaining chemistry, was pretty phenomenal, because that was the most engaging part of the film.
Absolutely.
And they did it so well that even with the boring parts or the weird pacing parts of the film, they still carried it, or their chemistry on screen carried it really well. And I think for that, of all the things in this film, that is to be commended. which is
Yeah.
impressive for, like we were saying with The Rock specifically. He doesn't have a lot to his name for dramatic roles.
Yeah.
It's so I was kind of wondering, like I knew he'd probably be more capable than I thought he would be, but for, all the roles I've seen him in, I was like, this is an interesting one to have chosen him. Like I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a background in fighting. I remember hearing I think it was for the Fast and Furious saga, if I'm not mistaken. There was a stuntsman that was talking to him, and they have a list of things that they got to go through for the action. So he hands him a sheet, and The Rock was like, "Oh, okay, cool, I got it." And he's like, "Do you want to go? Do you want to run through it?" He goes, "Yeah, we can run through it once." Because once he goes, "Yeah, this is a 20-move fight scene, dude." He's like, "I used to do whole shows with
Yeah.
wrestling." He's like, "I did an hour and a half. Like this is nothing."
I
So
see.
like he's got some capabilities, but obviously he has a background with fighting with a very physical, athletic nature, and so I can see why he would fit in that way. But then to portray another person with all the struggles that guy has, because they're not deep necessarily, but it's tough to portray that kind of thing if you're not someone that deals with it.
Right. And it's also difficult to get the audience to care.
Right.
Which is like an extra step too. Because the thing about him, like, it's total transformation. He didn't look like The Rock. He didn't sound like The Rock. Like the Dwayne Johnson became invisible, and all you saw was this absolute block.
He was a hulking monster. I was just like, dude.
He was just a brick wall that moved around and has all these emotional moments, and you started to feel bad for the brick wall. Because his character, well, let's just lay it out. Because I think I think it is better to start with him, honestly. Because
that's fair.
So in the story, you find out at the beginning that he's addicted to some kind of drug. So
actually, they have an interesting contrast to push it back a little bit. They have him in the waiting room of the hospital at first.
Yeah.
And he has an interesting interaction with a lady that doesn't like the fighting, doesn't like the UFC or anything it represents. She's like, it's too much, too violent. And then she asks, do you hate the people you fight? And he goes, no, of course not. Yeah. But he's just softly taking her criticism, her critiques.
Yeah.
And then kind of giving us a slight explanation, but not pushing. And then it shows that she has a grandson or something that wants his autograph. So then he goes up and he gives the autograph, and then he signs it out to the kid's brother as well, and he says, hey, no fighting. Because it's clear it's something your grandma's not comfortable with, so I'm not going to push this on, even though he clearly knows who I am, and I'll give him the signature and stuff.
Right.
So it shows that he's a very sincere person. He's very mild-mannered. But then he goes into the doctor's office, and before the doc gets there, he's like going through his pain meds. So he's like checking out his stash, essentially, and then he like sets it aside real quick when someone comes in.
Yeah.
So it gives this contrast of who he is as the facade, and then his vices essentially. Yeah. And facade's probably a wrong word. I mean, he does seem like a sincere person as he was portrayed.
The two things can be true at once, basically. Yeah.
But the facade was something that was just kind of settled in there.
Yeah.
And really had a hold on this person. So sorry,
go
ahead.
Well, and that actually is a good insert, because he's essentially built up his identity as like a man of integrity and honesty and
discipline,
like a good, relations with people, but also someone who never loses. And so he just like kind of gets to this place where he like can't even fathom losing, which is really funny because the reporter is like the journalist.
Job.
Yeah, he's asking him. He's like this because the fight takes place in Japan, and it's so funny because in the beginning of the movie he interviews The Rock, and he's like, what would it be like? Can you just imagine for us what it would be like to lose?
Yeah, he's trying to present a hypothetical, and The Rock can't.
And The Rock can't deal with it. He's just like, I don't know what that would be.
I've
like
never
it's
lost. I don't know
what
that. I don't know what that would be like. So I can't.
He's like,
I can't visualize it.
I can't. Yeah, I can't comprehend. And then like at the end of the movie, he's doing the same thing to someone else, like his friend, and he's just like, well, but imagine if you do have to fight your friend in the final match and you lose. What would that be like?
Yeah. Do you think it would be
the whole thing? He's just like, just imagine this terrible outcome. How do you feel? And they're like trying to prep themselves up to like beat somebody to a pulp.
Yeah.
And like come out alive.
Dumb hypothetical. He's like, what if? He's like, I don't really care, man. I gotta go in a second and beat somebody up. Not there yet.
It's cracking me up. But it's a good scene to show that like, all right, this guy can't comprehend that, which seems like a pretty shallow thing. And then he gets into a fight and he loses. And the reason he loses is because the other guy, well, cheats kind of. They go over and they explain, like, here's some of the things you can't do. There's a couple rules to follow, and they demonstrate one of the types of attacks you're not allowed to do. And his opponent uses it on him. And, eventually they decide that, like, okay, that was, like, considered a draw or whatever, or a no contest. But when it happens, the referee does not intervene. No one says anything. So they just give the win to the other guy. And his just like whole sense of self was completely destroyed.
Yep.
But the thing is that's interesting is that was already happening prior to him going into the fight, because like his girlfriend shows up, Emily Blunt, and she's like, "Hey, like I'm here," or whatever, and he gives her the coldest stone shoulder ever. I mean, not smooth.
You're gonna continue on?
So then he does that, and then, he loses the fight, and then he just goes back into his room and, like, just kind of cries. And, throughout all of this, it's like there's an easy way to just take it as, all right, well, he's a man-child. He can't stand to lose or whatever, right? And part of that's true, but he's also addicted to drugs. So, like, his
Yeah,
whole
how much
sense of
self do you
self.
have?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so after that is when that starts to become more noticeable to his partner and everybody else. And there's a really great scene afterwards back home where she's like, it's like, you're not you. She's like, I'm looking, and it's like a different person upstairs. And
In that scene, he does look dead. In the eyes.
completely so.
He wakes up in the middle of the night or something like that, walks in and sits on his couch, and he's like, when she comes out, he's just sitting there
as a total zombie.
just, dead eyes. And it was creepy to look at. And he's like sitting there kind of shoveling in his egg. And she's like, you got to finish it. Otherwise, it's not going to get the results you want, or whatever it is he's doing. I'm assuming it's probably his diet.
Mm-hmm.
Something insane that he was on. But he's just like, kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
She came up. She's like, I don't know this person. Like, who is this? This is someone. This is not you. This is a different person than you are going to be later.
Yeah.
And so it's showing you just kind of what the reality was probably like. He seems fairly docile, but so much so that he just seems dead.
Mm-hmm.
He is so encapsulated, or he's so like into this vice. It just controls all of his actions and all of his thoughts, which is what kind of lends to the fact of like, or the question of that you raised earlier is how much agency does he actually have?
Yeah.
How much self does he actually have
Right.
when he's so controlled by these things externally that, that self was already kind of on thin ice, as it were. I mean, if nothing else, like it's
sure. Ice is the appropriate word.
What are you gonna say, on thin rock? You can't.
Well, I just wanted to see if you could come up with one for us. I'm sure our audience would love to hear another
I'm
pun.
sure they would.
What did you?
No, I wrote all the ones in the beginning that you contribute already.
I love how you're like, the idea is to get it out,
Yeah,
so then it's
done.
no longer.
It's over. But you had your moment.
Yeah. Do you want to say more about his character, or do we pivot at this point?
I think we can pivot because we can get into her reaction in that moment as what kind of gives her character in the first place. Because she does at first show. That was the first one where she flew out to Japan, right? So she flies halfway across the world, dolls herself up, goes in to say hi, and he just barely looks at her. Just like, oh, I'm gonna be focused or whatever. And I was like, jeez.
But he doesn't even tell her that until like afterwards.
Right, he just barely looks at her.
Just totally dismisses her. But like, there's a scene prior to that where he goes out and buys like this bowl, this like ornate design bowl, and like a scarf for her. So he does like some touristy things and buys her that stuff. So you see, again, that both sides where, okay, clearly he's thinking about her, but she's not getting that part. She just gets this weird alter ego person.
Right. Probably someone who's like in the zone because he's prepping to actually walk out to fight in that moment.
Yeah.
So he's getting stretched out by his trainer, and he's like getting warmed up and probably settling into some kind of mindset that you've got to be in to hurt somebody else like that. But she comes in to just want to be supportive.
Right.
And to him, it's just a total affront. Like, I can't believe you've come in to break my focus. And to her, it's just like, I'm just trying to support you. I just want to be here.
Right.
And so, us as an audience member are just all like super uncomfortable because we're We're all on her side, dude. You're just being a jerk. But at the same time, like, I can understand how it would be tough to shift your mindset. Like, because I get into modes like that where you just get so singularly focused that it's hard to pull yourself away.
Sure.
And you almost take it as an insult if someone pulls you out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of my things is I deal with a warehouse. And, like, if I'm cleaning that thing, I have to tear it down from top to bottom. I have to tear it apart to put it back together. And if someone comes in to pull me aside, pull me into another responsibility, it comes out as irritation because I'm just like, ugh, like I'm in the zone. Like I
cannot
see
compute.
I see the end goal. If you're pulling me away from that, it's a total interruption. So I'm assuming it was something like that, plus the influence of the painkillers. I guess you could just insert drugs at that point. Because then he also has that personality where he'll impose that will on other people. Where somebody hands him something and he's like, "Do you have anything stronger?"
Yeah.
And then he just progressively gets more and more aggressive about getting something from him. Even though it's probably against the rules. He's not supposed to be touching that stuff. He's not supposed to be handing it out. But the guy's just like, no, I'm going to get that thing.
Right.
Because that's what his singular focus is. And he can't see anything else. He can't see how he's affecting other people. That's just what he wants. So he's shown to be that kind of person. But then in the end, like she goes into this later, after he gets clean, that's his now focus, is that he's clean.
Yeah.
And so
exactly.
that becomes like the narrow vision is just that way now. And she almost is upset about it because she's like, well, at least when he was, a druggie, he wanted me to take care of him. So like I got something and he was like tender and kind. And now it's just this, I can't take any pain meds for a headache because I drank too much last night because he's going to be all up my butt about, oh, well, I can't believe you're taking that in front of me.
Yeah,
it's like, I just want some Advil because my head hurts.
Right,
I got
it's
a bit of a
it's
hangover.
not the same thing.
It's not the same, but he takes it that way. Everything is personal to him.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting dynamic, the way that they portray that and the tension that is consistently rising through the film with those elements. And that was what you're talking about earlier with Emily Blunt being able to layer those things so that even when you get to an explosion like what happens later in the film, you may not have seen that coming, but you could feel the tension rising. Like every interaction they has gets a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit more less personal, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because even when they're throwing insults, like at least they're willing to. There's some communication in there, but then there's more of a wall put up each time they interact to the end, and then that explodes.
And when they establish it early on, like that first scene where she comes in and talks with him or tries to get him to respond. It's like their first fight, basically, because he just doesn't even acknowledge her existence, basically. And so at first she's like trying to like console him and be like, oh, like what's wrong or whatever, and just like sweet and nice. And then when he continues to give her the cold shoulder, she's just like, all right, you're giving me the cold boulder routine. I don't want to deal with this. And so then she's like, all right, well, whatever. What am I supposed to do with that, right? And then the situation kind of escalates again where she's like, starts to get upset because she's like, hey, I flew all the way out here to see you fight or whatever. The least you can do is acknowledge me. What about my feelings in this equation?
Yeah, maybe a hug or a kiss. Hell, she'd probably even take a handshake at that point. Like, this can be something.
The handshake,
you won't even look at her.
A little eye contact maybe, and he's just like Frankenstein's monster. Me mad.
Me angry.
Me crush human skull.
Yeah. You're not your human skull.
That's totally what it is. He just goes primal on her.
It is called the Smashing Machine, so
Yeah, exactly. But that is like exactly what happens in the scene later, where it's like she comes in sweet and nice, and then when he doesn't reciprocate that, then she gets upset and says like, well, this is a matter of my feelings now.
Sure.
And then when she does that, then he's like, well, you're just not like supporting me or whatever. He says some BS excuse to give her. And then because he's like, he's in the zone, he just wants that thing to be acknowledged above all other things. And then when he does that, then it hurts her even more. And so it's like this really horrible cycle between the two where they just have really bad communication.
Yeah.
And like she's better at it than him, I felt, because at least she can talk about the problem in the room.
Sure.
And even though like when she like the lines are perfect for her because it's not like she's perfect. She throws some insults that are just mean, but it's like it's after she's been pushed over the edge.
Sure.
And she's like, I didn't say anything wrong. And then like he keeps antagonizing, and then she's like, all right, well there. Like, and
Right.
I don't have the patience anymore, and I shouldn't have to have that level of patience. So I thought that was good how she kind of just conducts all of that. It was really, really well done.
Yeah, that's fair. Because even there's a scene in there where she comes in. She's obviously stayed out late with her friends, and she's taken some Advil or something, and he's
Mhm.
all mad about it. I can't believe you would take that in front of me, and it's all like kind of whiny.
It's not nice.
He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, do you know what I'm going through? I'm trying to get off this stuff, and like,
Yeah.
and so she just is kind of like, I got a headache. What do you want? I need to like not feel this headache right now.
Right.
I just like to feel a little bit better. I'm not addicted.
Right.
And so it's kind of like it starts escalating where it starts to be the little jabs that they throw back and forth. And then instead of dealing with the problem in the moment, of him maybe just being like, you know what, that's fair. If you wouldn't mind, just maybe do that in the other room or something, like some kind of passive agreement that wouldn't
Sure.
escalate into this thing. He's like, I'm going to call my sponsor. And so he runs over to call mom, like,
Yeah.
Mom, she's antagonizing me. And so she jumps on with Jeff, is his name. He's like, Jeff, you wouldn't believe this. She's just taking meds right in front of me. And then she's all mad that he wants to run off to some rando instead of
Right.
sitting there and dealing with it like an adult. So
Yeah.
she yells at him. He's like, Are you hearing this right now, Jeff? And totally not acknowledging his part in what got them to this spot.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
he's just running to tell mom about what the sibling did rather than owning up to his own mistake.
Right.
And then he goes into his office, and he obviously still hear him talking. And so she comes out and yells again. He goes, Are you hearing this? I can't believe that she would yell at me like that. It's just like, dude, how juvenile are you? You need
Right.
another adult to validate you in this moment without all the context. Like, you're just
Yeah.
a baby, dude. Like, just drop it. Or go and face her like a man and actually find a resolution that you both agree on.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, how much of that is, 'cause like you said, he's got that singular focus, and then he's dealing with recovering from something that I don't fully understand, to be fair.
Sure.
I've never been addicted to these things, thank God. But I imagine a lot of that stuff, like, you've got to kind of wrap yourself up in this blanket, the security blanket, essentially, of, well, if I start to acknowledge that, there's a big flood of stuff that's going to come in too, of responsibility or accountability or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to be like, well, I can't even be around an Advil. Like, this is your problem. You, instead of being like, well, no, I'm the one that created this problem in the first place.
Yeah.
He has to externalize that so that he's not at fault anymore. He's like, well, I've already dealt with my problem.
Yeah.
It's like, well, now you're trying to reintroduce it into my atmosphere or whatever. Like, dude, you're missing the point, man. Like, she's not the problem.
Yeah, a part of the movie is difficult to watch because of that,
Mhm.
because they're so just like it's a pretty easy solution and their arguments, but they keep
Externally,
happening.
yes.
Yeah, externally, yeah, but it's like they keep happening because, I mean, really, it was mostly him. I feel like almost completely, because she wasn't really doing anything because like he wouldn't really explain the process to her so she could
Right.
even be aware of it, even if that was something to like play along with.
Well, he did once, actually. He did
does
start trying to
once.
do it, and then she starts to like try and add in, and he just takes that as an insult. He's like, I'm
But-
trying to explain it. You just
Yeah.
keep talking. It's like,
Yeah, but
dude,
she
she's
wasn't
contributing, man. Like,
Right.
she's trying to help you.
right. She was just like, okay, I'm getting the narrative that you're telling me. It's like it's means a lot to you winning. And it's like, wow, it's this feeling or whatever. Okay, cool. Yeah, I get that. And he's like, you don't get it. It's like, well, if you're not gonna
Yeah.
be patient and let her just interpret it the way she wants it or can interpret it,
Sure.
then it's like she has to interpret it the way that he interprets it. Otherwise, forget it. And
Right.
it's like, well, she's
It's never
not
gonna happen.
you.
Yeah.
Like,
She's not this hulking mass that beats people up for a living. Like,
right.
there's different emotions in there, probably. She doesn't see the world the same way.
Yeah.
But just because she was trying to contribute in the way that she knew how to, he was
Yeah.
like, well, this is the way I want you to do it, so therefore I'm going to be upset about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, this all culminates. I think we should just jump into
Go for it.
into this scene where I remember you commented on her outfit. It was funny. I was like, she looks like she's wearing wallpaper. But that's an aside.
Yeah, it was a strange. I was like, what
It
is
was
she
a weird
wearing?
outfit.
It's
It's like this
weird.
old school floral pattern. I guess it's for the time, but she's like setting up for this party. She's bringing out these platters of fruit and stuff, and they're
Mhm.
supposed to be coming over to celebrate his win or something like that. And something happens where they start to go at each other. I can't remember the crux of the argument, but
Yeah.
it culminates
Well,
in
it's he doesn't want her to go out to the next fight in Japan.
Oh, that's
and
right.
she doesn't get why she wouldn't be wanted. It's just like total rejection to her.
And this is part of, I guess, a small flaw of the film is that they don't quite give you the full context of it. They give you the snippets, which is what we had discussed, is that she's like taking Advil or something in front of him or Tylenol, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
She's taking pain meds, over the counter stuff, and he's not able to deal with that. And so I guess at some point he's been talking to his friends about that, of like, this is difficult for me. She's taking meds in front of me, and this is how she's been conducting herself. She's staying out super late till 4 a.m. or whatever with her friends. And so he's like real anxious and apprehensive about it. So the friends basically both call and say, hey, you probably shouldn't bring her along if she's behaving like this and taking these meds. We need you fully focused, fully in the zone in order to win these fights. Like, this is a big deal. We need you to not be distracted by anything.
Yeah.
And so The Rock hasn't, or Mark Kerr did not tell his girlfriend that at the time, apparently. And so she heard the voicemail saying, hey, don't back down. Make sure that you're the only one going to Japan. And she's like, well, why am I not allowed to go?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you're a distraction. And so she's like trying to pull it out of him, and he hasn't quite found the words to say it yet. And it seems like it was a thoughtful measure. He was trying to figure out how to bring that out in a way that wouldn't be contentious. She found out anyway, and so therefore it became contentious. This is just my reading on the situation. Maybe I'm incorrect, but so she just takes it as an insult. And at some point she looks at him and she's like, well, why don't you just look me in the face and say you don't want me to come and you hate me? I'm like, well, that's a little far. I don't think that's not the sentiment I'm getting from the guy. It doesn't seem like he hates you. It just seems like he understands that like this is going to be a distraction, so maybe it's best if you don't. I don't agree with that sentiment, but I can see the reasoning that got you there.
Sure.
And so it pushes so far and it escalates so far that eventually he just sits down and he's like, you know what, I think it's best if you just pack up your stuff and left.
Yeah.
He kind of just like cuts it off. And then she breaks. She's like, all I do is stuff for you. I make myself look good for you. I cook for you. I clean for you. I'm making sure that I'm supportive of you. I fight across the country for you.
Well, but first she goes into salvage mode.
That's fair.
The thing. So it's like she's angry, and then when he cuts it off, then she's like, okay, well, I'll take it back and try to like rebuild the situation. And then he's just like, no. And then that's when she
back
like
to the stone
snaps.
cold. There you
exactly. Go. Yeah, I mean, he just walls her off,
Stonewalls her, as one would say. So he officially is like, hey, the door's closed. We're done. Because he's already been pushed past that point, and to him, it's like we've gotten to this, and now it's over.
Sure.
For her, it's like, well, I can backtrack, and maybe we can salvage what we got.
Yeah, which is usually how the scenario plays out.
Right.
Is that she caves, and he just takes that and doesn't realize that this is actually just building resentment over time.
Yep. But that resentment exposes itself heavily when she realizes that he is officially done and she does not get to fight back. So she goes to their room and grabs a gun and puts it to her head. That was terrifying. So shocking.
I was like, whoa.
I could feel the collective gasp, which might have been just me in the theater. Just, oh my gosh. Whoa. Because she does that and he just like does a flying tackle.
Yeah.
Takes her down, grabs the gun, pulls it out. And then she runs into the bathroom and he hears a bottle open.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like a bunch of pain meds or something. And she's obviously going to just chuck them all in.
Yeah. So in true Rock fashion, he just punches through the
door. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I wonder if they use real doors and this is just like, they weren't supposed to happen this way. But he's just like, I'm such a hulking mass that I just made it through the first punch.
Yeah.
And he did that to multiple doors in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like really had a vendetta against doors. I think that's what this movie is actually about.
They should have had like no doors were harmed in the making of this movie.
It's like, that's a lie. I saw 2 doors officially get destroyed. He punches one in half and the other one he punches straight through. Like, real thing for doors in this movie. But he punches through, breaks in, and he grabs her and he just pulls her into the bedroom and just holds her arms down. He goes, she's just like, let me go. And he's like, nope. Know what that means? I'm not going to do that. So we're just going to sit here until everything calms down.
Yeah.
That was a pretty emotional moment in the film.
Incredibly so.
Pretty sure a lot of people are tearing up at that one. Because he does the same thing, like just stone cold. But he's like, just holding. He's like, there's no more arguing. There's no more reasoning. Like, I just got to make sure that this chick does not kill herself.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. That's that singular focus. Just zoomed in right there. It's like, all right, save her. That's it.
Yeah.
Which culminates into her jumping into an ambulance and going home or going to the hospital later. They want to make sure she didn't get anything in her stomach or whatever. But
yeah,
it reevaluated his importance of the relationship, it seems. which
Yeah.
fully culminates after his fight, which is the end of the film. But did you have anything to add on to those moments there?
Yeah, well, I mean, just that her performance was so incredible,
Oh
like,
my
because I
gosh.
didn't think that she was going to do that, but then when
Yeah,
it happened, I was like,
you can see it.
"Oh,
Yeah,
because you don't know how bad it is on her end. You just see you're mostly following him, and then so you're almost getting, like, her perspective from his. The thing is that you always perceive their interactions with clarity when it does happen. You're like, "Well, yeah, she's being reasonable here," or at least initially so, and then, when he can't take that or doesn't want that, then suddenly both of them lose their heads, and then things go off rails.
yeah,
So you watch that happening, and there's a scene where she goes out with a girlfriend of hers, and it's for her girlfriend's birthday or whatever. And they chit chat about stuff in her relationship, but then they chit chat about other things, and it's just kind of this nice little moment. So you're like, all right, so she has like a life outside of this, and we get a small window into that. But it's not enough for us to see like the severity that it's impacting her until that moment. So it kind of makes us blind as much as the character was to like
sure.
how bad this situation had gone. But also, I think how much she actually cares about that relationship, because if she was truly just mad and resentful, she'd have just left,
Yeah,
instead of having
being
this.
just entirely self-destructive.
Yeah, because it was like this like profound need for him to acknowledge the things that she's going through. But it's like he can't do that. It's just, well, I'm the one who like fights and pays for everything. So I'm the only one who has feelings. I'm the only one who goes through things. You go through nothing. And she's just like, well, that's not true. And, finding some reconciliation from that was just not happening. And then, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the way I interpreted it was that she had felt like she'd given so much that she didn't have anything left to give. And in that situation, when, she'd seen all
Hmm.
the things that she'd given just kind of tossed aside, that it was like, well, it's over. And it might be a little dramatic, sure, like probably not how I would deal with that situation. Not that I would deal with it perfectly, I suppose, but to her, it was just like, well, I've given all this stuff. He threw it away. So what is it worth? So I'll just end it here. It was
Hmm.
such an emotional experience for her to see that happen that way. That's just how I interpreted it.
Hmm.
But that's how it kind of made sense in my head as to
Gotcha.
why that would be the solution in that moment. It was like, I don't think this is the right one, but I get it.
Yeah, I just saw it as like the culmination of like a need for him to acknowledge her feelings, because he was just routinely not doing that. I mean, he was just like, well, he's like, I'm trying to explain something to you. And she's like, well, I'm trying to get it. And he's like, well, you don't get it. So now I'm mad. And it's like, all right.
That's the
And,
way to deal with it
and,
as an
and there's
adult.
no, it's like, so that's her extending, an arm there,
Sure.
and for him to just like slap it down. And that happens repeatedly throughout the film. So then it just like makes you pause. It's like, look, she's not really asking for a lot on her end,
Right.
because if she was, I think we would be seeing that, and because that would be something that would frustrate you. So we would get access to that kind of information.
Sure.
So since we're not really seeing that, it sounds like you're just tremendously insecure. And so like, that frustration just builds. But that's how I took that one. And then afterwards, the kind of catharsis of the film is that there is some recognition on his part, because he does go to the fight, and when he's in the middle of it, he describes like how his body just froze up, and he's like, it's like I died. I couldn't move my body. I couldn't do anything. So he loses this fight, just gets totally destroyed because he just shuts down. And like when it happens, it does like a flashback of a bunch of things we've seen throughout the movie, many of which involve her. So it kind of is like that sort of reorienting of his perspective, right?
Sure. Yeah, just to getting beaten to a pulp to get it. Which I guess works for some people.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the fighting in this movie too is like really intense. I mean, it's pretty much just one guy grabs another, throws him to the ground, and then just like pulverizes
Yeah.
him repeatedly
Just,
up close.
just
Like,
Hulk smashes his.
yeah, that's basically what it was throughout. So then it's happening to him, and you get this like kind of wake up moment.
Sure.
Um,
And during that flashback scene, you can still hear the blows of,
mhm.
just everything, the fists and the knees and stuff landing on him. You can kind of it's almost like you can feel it. And each time it hits, goes to another flashback. So it's almost like reality is hitting him in the face, kind of a thing. They also had an interesting moment early in the film that I forgot to mention. It's when they show him shooting up the first time. So he
Mhm.
does his whole process, and then he sits down, and you can see his face and then a reflection of his face kind
Oh
of in the
yeah.
mirror off to just past him.
Uh-huh.
And it was an interesting view and like how they were trying to visually portray him in the movie as like
Yeah.
this kind of two-faced character.
Yeah.
Both the same guy, but one is the one that's hiding in the bathroom with the needle, and the other one is the one that he reveals to people in public or whatever, the face he puts on, the facade.
Yeah, exactly.
That was an interesting moment.
That was a good moment. And I think also too, they do a good job of showing like the highs and the lows of their relationship. So we've been talking about all their fights, but there's a lot of scenes that contradict that as well. Like there's a scene where he gets out of rehab and then they go out to a carnival to kind of celebrate, and it's just them having fun at the carnival. And there's this funny moment where she wants to go into what's that one where it just spins you around?
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. It's not something I'll ever go into.
Yeah.
Gross.
Exactly. And he's like, well, what about my tummy? Like, I can't take it. And he uses the word tummy, too.
Yeah.
Just to like
he's a child.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I can handle that. And she's like trying to get him. She's like, oh, it's fun. And after a while, she's like, all right, just hold my cake. I'm going in. I'm going to have fun. And I will see you in a moment.
And
she's just like in there like, woo, this is fun.
He's like spinning on the wall and stuff. And he's just,
yeah.
Because it's interesting, too, because it almost feels like that's a moment that he would have taken personally at some point. And it looks like he's kind of mulling it over outside.
Yeah.
But he doesn't take it personally. He's just like, you know what? She wants to go on and I can't. And so I shouldn't hold that against her. There's no reason to make this an issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the thing. He goes up to the guy, the controller of the ride. And he was like, hey, if I got an upset tummy, is this a good idea? He's like, probably not. No. Like if you can't take the ride, don't go on. Like, why are you asking me this?
Yeah.
And it just kind of removes her argument because initially she's like, "Well, it doesn't even feel like you're moving." And he goes up, he's like, "Is that true?" He goes, "No, not true."
Yeah.
And then, like I would have to agree with I mean Mark or Rock or whoever it was in that moment that said no to the ride is like I'd never go on something like that because I know if I didn't get sick on the ride, it would ruin the rest of my day. I'd probably have a headache or because the worst. And the other thing I was imagining, sorry for everybody that has weak stomachs in this, is like if someone else gets sick on that ride, that is just a locked room where that's just going to be slinging puke everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with that. Like, you want to put me on alone, I'll try it, but no way.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to get some sick kid in there who just had too much popcorn or something. It's just disgusting.
Ugh,
no.
Gross. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
So he did make the smart choice by not going.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and it seems like, she doesn't take that one too personally. She's just kind of like, okay, I'm going to go on this ride. Like, I don't want to debate it anymore. Like,
right.
I want to go on and have fun. And like, I get it. It's upset stomach. So whatever, let's not fight about it. Let's not be upset about it. I'm going to go have my fun. And I'm going to come back and then we're going to enjoy the rest of the evening.
Sure.
But then like, even after that point, they go out and see it's like I don't want to say truck rally because it wasn't a truck rally, but it was.
Yeah, it's some kind of derby. It's just the cars just smash each other until there's nothing left, basically.
Yeah, basically. And like in that, one of the cars is just like slamming into another repeatedly. And it's kind of like the same move that took him down in that one fight. So he's like still latched onto that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it was
like
a nice
inserting
depiction
himself.
because they weren't like, oh, remember this previous scene and like do clips of both. It was just the new scene. So we could just make that connection for ourselves.
Yeah, with
I
his facial
appreciated.
expressions, which he had enough nuance to portray that through without having to do those flashbacks, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty solid pick. I very much expect to see The Rock with an Oscar nom, which is kind of weird to say. But, I mean, it's deserved. He really should be there. And I hope Emily Blunt is there, too.
Yeah.
She ought to be nominated because that was really something.
Yeah, Best Supporting Role. She did a fantastic job. She deserved that.
Really elevated that movie. If not for her, I think this would be a far inferior film because she's really providing a lot of substance in those other scenes. And like you said, the chemistry between the two of them is just fantastic. They did a nice job.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed. Well, here's part of our predictions for next year. So
yeah.
2024, hopefully those two at least. If nothing else, I'm sure it might get a couple more, but those two would definitely shine through. Whatever other nominations this film get, those two would probably be ones that make it.
Yeah, I don't think it'll get anything else, but I am hopeful for the two of them because I'm like, yeah, that was something.
Yep. Well, any other closing thoughts?
Rock smash!
Thank you for watching. So you made it to the end of the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought.